Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Arden, and today we're reviewing Batman number 97. Um, yes, so I got all my DC comics yesterday, read all my DC comics yesterday, while the Best of Green Lanterns video was premiering. Hopefully, y'all like that video. I know those results were going to be a little controversial, but I was so delighted by them and surprised in a fun way by like how things turned out. And I was happy that Jon Stewart won overall. I understand why people are like wanted Hal Jordan to win or whatever, but second place is no small feat. My personal choice came in third, and I was okay with that. So I think it was a good little experiment. You can check out that video on our channel if you haven't already. But nevertheless, today we're talking about part 3 of the Joker War. This, I believe, has the same creative team as before. Tinian the Fourth, Jimenez, and Mori, doing about the same level of quality work they've been doing so far. I have been a little back and forth about the Joker War so far. Issue number 1 I recommended, or like of the Joker War, so 95 I liked, 96 I didn't, and 97 on the whole I enjoyed as well. It definitely kind of is going in the better direction I initially kind of gleaned in the first issue of the Joker War. I think on the whole it has some potential. I like the 2 new characters it introduces and think they could have some real longevity to this series, which is cool. I think it's a pretty solid recommend overall. Once again, the artwork's just on point, and I think this time the writing more or less lives up to it. This is not Yoda says, what do you think about death metal? Well, I've done reviews of pretty much every death metal book that's come out, and I will talk about the guidebook that came out this week a little later. So we'll put a pin in that. But on the whole, I quite enjoyed death metal, and I've been mostly enjoying the Joker War. Questions aside about like, I don't know, the longevity of the Joker and how repetitive this particular story is. This has been fun and feels different for whatever reason. So I'll kind of get into what happens. We open at the Tri-Corner Yards. Punchline is overseeing all these toxins that they've bought because really they just have all the resources in the world. They even just bought one cargo ship just to ensure that they would get the cargo as soon as it arrived in port. One of the clowns is very worried about making a delivery because there's some guy in the Narrows killing people, and we learn that very much is Clownhunter. We then get a real look at Clownhunter. He's got very cool lettering to him. Yes, Clayton Kells does the lettering here, and he's picked out a pretty cool design for Clownhunter where he talks almost entirely in lowercase. Uh, and I think it denotes him being a little like soft spoken and stuff because he always seems quite calm as he murders 2 Jokers riding around in a Batmobile by pouring gasoline in the vehicle and lighting it on fire. So Clownhunter is not playing around. He has no like degree of control when it comes to murder or like code comparable to Batman. The Joker actually picks up on this a little later. He talks about how the Clownhunter seems quantitatively different compared to other vigilantes that have risen up in Batman's name in the past. We then cut back to the Monarch Theater where Batman is pretty much encountering the threat that we established in the last issue. He's like fighting zombies basically, which is a weird turn for the Joker, but I have to say this issue adds another twist to it where Batman's becoming so overwhelmed by the Joker toxin that he starts hallucinating and just sees them all as Jokers while he's hearing the actual Joker talk to him over the speaker and a very hallucinatory Alfred talking to him over the radio. So Batman's basically unraveling. And the book does a great job at sort of doing that. Like showcasing that mental change where it feels like he's just spiraling the drain. And unlike in a lot of the Tom King stories we were getting, it doesn't feel like, oh, he can just survive everything, and it's pushing past even some of the metahuman ideas Scott Snyder was exploring, to the extent where Batman's just this unholy monster. He feels like he's just completely out of his element here, and ensuring that he puts on blindfolds so that like he won't get distracted by his hallucinations and just sort of uses echolocation in his suit to fight. It's a cool scene that ends with like the whole Monarch Theater basically burning down and Batman just falling into a gutter, only saved by Harley Quinn again, um, who picks him up and takes him to this safe house underground where Poison Ivy established a sort of rehab center for Harley Quinn where she could sort of detox from like Joker gas in the past. Uh, then that whole conversation happens between the Joker and Punchline where he talks about Clownhunter a little bit. But Harley gives him a little concoction that'll sober him up. And it just leaves Batman completely spiraling out of control and hallucinating even more as the toxins are kind of being flushed out of his system. But he will get better, I believe. Though before that, he gets confronted by a vision of Alfred, who says it's time for them to have a serious talk. Um, so it's a pretty interesting issue, and I was reading a different review for the. Oh, sorry. This is not Yoda saying, "Where do you think the Joker Wars is going?" I'll answer that question first because I think next issue is going to be dealing with that whole business with Alfred. And then 99 is probably going to be building up to 100, where it's going to probably just be a big confrontation over all of this stuff. But it feels like we're really getting into, okay, what's different? Because, yes, a lot of this stuff kind of feels like we're kind of getting into City of Bane content almost or something, but I don't know. It feels like as the story keeps desperately wanting to tell us, it is different. I don't know. I haven't seen the Joker do something like this, quite like this before. It feels like he's going for something different. It does kind of feel like he's being a lot more, I don't know, systematic in how he's dealing with everything, aggressive in how he's taking Gotham and the Batman down. uh, Something does feel off. Maybe it even is just the lack of Alfred and Batman having to rely on Harley Quinn while Joker has a new ally in the form of Punchline, who feels also very different from Harley Quinn. This is not Yoda saying, I always get City of Bane vibes from this story. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem and why I keep waffling, even though I am leaning more towards recommending this particular issue. But I read this review and where someone asked the question, like, this book made him wondering, like, why should we keep reading DC Comics? It's a question that certainly feels in the air with all the layoffs recently and stuff like that, which we haven't talked about too much, and I still might want to devote a bit of a stream to that at some point. But the thing that, like, he wasn't sold on this book, really wanting him to read more DC Comics, whereas I feel like I had the opposite reaction. Punchline and Clownhunter both seem interesting enough to me to encourage me to keep reading and also have a bit more faith in Tinian taking over this Batman series and doing something a little different. Punchline feels like a worthy addition to Batman's rogues gallery, especially because so many of Batman's female villains are like pretty good people overall. Harley Quinn keeps trying to be a good person, and this book very much establishes, like, yes, all that character progression matters, and she's very much like one of Batman's best allies right now, which is interesting and contrasts well with Punchline, who's just vicious and aggressive and merciless, but also not stupid and doesn't feel like a victim of Joker the same way Harley was. Meanwhile, Clownhunter just I think he's interesting and fun, and just I like how aggressive and unapologetically violent he is. He feels almost like Jason Todd, but like the Joker says, it's just different. Jason Todd got all messed up. Clownhunter's just starting out this way, and I think that will be cool. I I hope Batman doesn't like pull him over to this side. I don't know. I think he would be an interesting, different sort of vigilante in the world of Gotham City. And as far as additions go, I think he's pretty cool. He certainly was shown off well in this book. If there's no other reason to read this, that's certainly a good one in my eyes. So, yeah, I think a pretty solid recommend. And I think this book shows where there is a future in DC Comics. And people like Tinian the Fourth, they can introduce cool characters like this that are going to be explored in the future, and I imagine so. I would imagine these characters have a life beyond the Joker War. Like, if for some reason they wanted to give me control of a Batman book or something, I would definitely want to explore one of these characters in some form or another, either as like a villain in a story in the form of Punchline, or as like Clownhunter could work in a lot of different contexts very interestingly. Imagine him on like the Teen Titans or something like that. That would be cool. So that's pretty much my review of Batman. I quite liked it, but next we're going to talk about a book I liked a little bit more even, and I got Death Metal Guidebook, which I don't actually remember ordering, but I don't regret actually getting, because I quite liked a little more than Legends of the Dark Knight, but I'll get into all that when we get around to streaming it. Hopefully at some point today. I'm not sure exactly when, because I got some stuff to do. But thanks for watching this review, guys, and I'll see you next time here on Comic Island.